Ghana's education has been ranked 125 out of 183 countries in the latest Global Youth Development Index released by the Commonwealth Secretariat. According to the Secretariat, tracking progress is a process that enhances the status of young people, empowering them to build on their competences and capabilities for life. The report noted a unique situation in the overall ranking of Ghana, which has an overall score of 105. It added that the West African country, together with the likes of Tonga, the Gambia, Fiji, and Brunei, and the Dar es Salaam, are among the countries that have moved the most places up the ranks relative to other Commonwealth countries since the 2020 report. We've been joined by phone by the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, to speak to this. Kwesi, thank you for your time. You're welcome. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you.
Now, firstly, what has the ministry met? Have you actually met about this ranking? And what was the outcome of the meeting, if you've ever deliberated on it since the ranking came out?
I think, first of all, as a people, we need to take a critical look of such reports to be able to have a better appreciation of what the report says in order to take the feedback and improve our educational outcomes. Largely, if you look at the Global Youth Development Index, the abstract or the executive summary describes what the whole research is about, which critically looks at about 6 demand areas, but of course, education being the methodology and even how data was sampled with regards to the area of education. You realize that 3 key variables were actually looked at. One has to do with the whole idea about digital literacy. Of course, if you look at digital literacy, the last time that organization updated their data had to do with 2018. That is 10 clear years from now, or 10 clear years after the results was published. Of course, in between that 10 years, Ghana has been able to significantly improve in that areas. Recently, you heard about the Smart Classroom project, the Smart Schools project, the One Teacher, One Laptop, One Student, One Tablet. These are all data that were not taken into account because so far as the organization is concerned, the last update that they had was just 2013. Beyond that, even if you move to, for instance, variables that they use like literacy generally, the last update was up to 2021. But before 2021, the last data that we had as a country was around 2% in terms of literacy. But currently, we are recording around 38%. And of course, the last variable that they use bordered on completion rate of junior high school students. But you and I agree that if you look at the free SHS program, with its enrollment more than doubling, it presupposes that people are also completing the junior high schools accordingly. So we needed not to rush to run headlines about the research. What we needed to do first was to have at least analyzed and read the data to be able to make sure that indeed, even though we are not where we have to be as a country, definitely not where we used to be, we are also not there. So the research is just to guide us. But of course, if you ask me, when they collated the data, it does not correspond with the current reality as I speak to you. A lot has changed.
So, but if you're looking at the variables, as you've mentioned, they all average to give you the overall score. So even if you look into the details and you say that the variables have improved, it looks like per the ranking, the overall ranking, we're still not doing better. So what exactly do you find it missing?
No, you see, it is not about whether or not we are doing better. It has more to do with, if you look at the research themselves, the research itself, and the variables, they centered it on 3 key variables. One has to do with digital literacy. And I'm saying that the research span a number of years between 2012 and 2022. That is the research period. But the only results that they updated, the last update that they had was somewhere 2013. So you don't conduct a research and pick just 1 year out of 12 whole years and then use to make a conclusive judgment. So yes, the research may point to A, B, C, and D based on the data that they have. But in reality, it is not the case. Well, because if you look at digital literacy, for instance, it's improved significantly for the past 10 years. So yes, if this research was presented the last 10 years,
it may have improved in Ghana, but as compared to the competitors or the countries involved, Commonwealth countries, it obviously means that we're not up to the standards other countries are.
I don't know whether you get me, because the point is that what it also means is that even other countries, it may not reflect the reality on the ground. Because in other countries, you should take initiative and read the research yourself. The variables that according to the researchers they use. For instance, in education, they use 3 key variables on literacy, on digital literacy, and of course on school completion rate at DHS level. So what it means is that if this researchers, for instance, research was presented 10 years ago, it would have tallied or correspond with the reality. So all across the world, if you take a data and the data is 2013, you will not be able to have a better appreciation of the reality as at now. So it is not really a matter of Ghana. I mean, that is generally what the research is saying based on their own methodology.
Okay, but you're saying that the research does not represent the reality on the ground here in the country.
Because according to them, the data they use, some of them, the last time they updated was 2013.
Oh, okay, that's the point you're making. So what does that mean? Does that mean it is the country that is not maybe providing the actual data, the reality on the ground, as opposed to what they are collating by themselves?
No, you see, they rely on other institutions to be able to collect the data. So, for instance, when it comes to literacy, they relied on UNESCO. When it comes to, the completion of junior high school students, they also relied on UNESCO. Is the other one that I need to go through the document to be able to confirm other institutions that they rely on.
So which institution will be appropriate to provide the reality on the ground?
I genuinely do not know how to answer the question because we did not commission such a research.
Because you're saying that they are not representing the reality on the ground. And by mentioning UNESCO, I want to assume that you're saying UNESCO did not provide the truth or the true picture of what is really happening on the ground here in Ghana. So which institution do you think will be appropriate to provide the right information? Because we want to see ourselves in the best picture.
You see, I don't know whether I'm the one who is not giving the better explanation or it has to do with your maybe you are also not getting the picture I'm making. You see, let's make it this way. Maybe the conversation should also be centered on all of us taking the initiative to go through the research and not what I'm giving you. Because if you do a research and you say that you rely on 3 main variables to be able to do your ranking, and you say that the data on the variables that you took, a research that spans a space of 12 years, the last time you updated your data was, 10 years ago. Clearly, possibly one can assume that within the 10 years, a lot of things has happened. So it may not necessarily be representative enough. Of course, I cannot decide on how people do their researches, but when researches come, we critique based on the methodology that has been provided.
Right.
So I'm not sure I will be able to be in the position to say that A institution should have said it, B institution should have said it. But when the research comes, you look at the methodologies and the variables used, and based on that, you interpret. Interestingly, if the media were being maybe very fair and has, at the end of the day, gone through the research, you realize that they never use anything like even education quality. But of course, headlines have been generated, education quality compromise, and I am not sure any of us has taken the pain to even go through the document itself. Maybe if we go through the document, our line of questioning may even also change, if you ask me.